Plymouth was a brand that bid us goodbye far too soon. And while the end of their life may have been on Chrysler-funded life support with their waning sales numbers, they did bring us some of the baddest muscle machines back in their heyday, with the Cuda and the Road Runner. The Road Runner specifically lived through their 1968 to 1972 peak until mounting government regulations and the gas crisis forced them to evolve into something that became all show and no go. By 73 and 74, peak power was down to just 280 horsepower out of the top dog 440. And by 1976, the Road Runner was now just a nameplate slapped onto the Plymouth Valere, a replacement for the economy-focused Duster, which it remained as until it was killed off in 1980. But what most people don't know is that in 1975, the Road Runner got an entire redesign on that initial B-body platform that would last for just 1 year, which kept the big block alive for one final hurrah in the Road Runner. This is the story of the 1-year Mopar Malaise Era wonder, the 1975 Plymouth Road Runner. So, why does this car even exist? Well, that's an interesting one. See, Plymouth in 1975 made the decision to move the Fury nameplate away from its larger C-bodied cars to now reside on the mid-sized B-body chassis to replace what was previously called the Satellite. And these larger C-body cars, which used to be the Fury, would now become the Grand Fury. Visually, the 1975 Road Runner looked, well, a bit bland, to be honest. It was painfully similar looking to the 1975 Fury. Now, it managed to keep the similar wheel arch design from the 73 and 74 Road Runners, but the front end looked a lot like the Fury and also a lot like a 1975 Chevy Malibu, which did not help the new Road Runner differentiate itself like the old ones did with their brash graphics and vibrant colors. There was no more spoiler on the back, and the rear trunk on the 75 cars now had a center bulge in it, which served as a mural for the new and very Star Wars-esque Road Runner graphics. You also got a set of side stripes on the new Road Runner, but that was it. No fancy hood scoops, none of that. But it was not all bad. The 1975 Road Runner continued on with the same core B-body chassis as its better-looking older siblings, which meant that while this car looked nothing alike, it still did share the same core DNA of the Road Runners that we all know and love. With a 115-inch wheelbase, the Road Runner maintained the same wheelbase as it had since '71. The front subframe was reworked with new rubber isolators to help mitigate vibration and give these new cars more of that luxurious comfort. But it was all still very familiar, as was the suspension setup, which remained as the front torsion bars and classic rear leaf springs with a live axle. What the new Road Runner did not share, though, was the same level of brutish power. And if you are into brutish power, then you should definitely check out Ridge, because right now Ridge is doing a massive sweepstakes where the winner can get a Hennessy Velociraptor, a gold-plated Cybertruck, or $100,000 in cash now through September 13th. And the best part, you can even enter for free. Or if you want to purchase one of their awesome wallets, pens, luggage, or other accessories, that will also get you entered to win, with every $1 spent giving you one entry to win. I know for me that Hennessy Velociraptor sounds like a pretty amazing daily driver, but let me know which of the 3 prizes that you would take. And all you have to do to get entered is go to ridge.com/rarecars or click the link below in the description, and you never know. You might be coming home with a new truck or $100,000 in cash after doing so. But now, back to the video. This was 1975 after all. A base model Corvette was now making just about 160 horsepower out of its 350. Times were tough in the horsepower department, but this new Road Runner managed to hold its own quite well. Mind you, in total for 1975, Plymouth sold just over 7,000 of these new Road Runners. And the reason I bring this up so soon is because there were an astounding 7 engine options available for this car. With only a few thousand cars made, that has got to be one of the biggest production inefficiencies I've ever heard of. But it is cool looking back at it to see just how many engines you could actually get in your Road Runner. And here they are. The base engine was Dodge's workhorse 318 cubic inch V8, which now made just 145 horsepower. Let's be honest, that could barely lug the car along at anything more than a pedestrian pace. Moving up the options list, there were 2 360 cubic inch V8 engine options available. The base 2-barrel carburetor one with 170 horsepower and a high-performance 4-barrel 360, which made 220 horsepower. Now, I know 220 horsepower doesn't sound like much, but the L82 Code 350, which was the fastest new Corvette at the time, only made about 205 horsepower. So the Road Runner was no slouching, period. For those who wanted some more torque, there were also 3 400 cubic inch V8 engine options available that respectively made 160 horsepower, 185 horsepower, and 235 horsepower with the range-topping E68 Code 400. Now, all those combined makes 6 of the 7 engines that you could have got in your 1975 Road Runner. The 7th engine option I mentioned last because there is a bit of a caveat to it. Technically, there was a 255 horsepower, 440 cubic inch V8 available in the Road Runner, but only for the police package-equipped cars. Now, most of us are not cops, so we could not have gotten that package, but allegedly, a few of these engines were able to have made it into a few production Road Runners or civilian use by people who had an in to order with the special code for these cars. But that's pretty much all the info I have on that front. Transmission-wise, nearly all of the 75 Road Runners came equipped with a 3-speed automatic transmission, either a 727 torque flight or a 904 torque flight, depending on the engine choice. You could, however, get a 3-speed manual, but that was only available with the 318 cars. No 4-speed stick was available at all, which is criminal if you ask me. The performance numbers of the 318 and the low-powered 360 and 400 engines are just not even worth mentioning because they're so bad. But the 235 horsepower E68 powered Road Runners could do 0 to 60 in around 8 seconds and finish the quarter-mile time in the low 16s. All of the Road Runners came with a 321 rear gear set in them, which helped them limp along in the quarter-mile time a lot quicker than some of the contemporary Furies, for example, which started off with 245 rear gears. With the Road Runners, mods such as a better intake manifold, headers, a cam, and a shorter gear ratio, these cars could definitely get into the low 14-second range in the quarter. It could also slow down reasonably well afterwards, with disc brakes up front, with single-piston calipers, and drums in the rear. However, power brakes were an option and not standard, so that might have been something you wanted to consider before jamming on the pedal. The interiors of the Road Runner were designed to provide both comfort and style, featuring plush seating options that catered to various tastes. Buyers could choose between sporty bucket seats or an optional bench, each upholstered in pleated vinyl, available in a range of colors to complement the car's exterior. And for those who want to go wild on the inside of their Road Runner, the vibrant and eye-catching Sundance interior scheme would do the trick. This unique pattern added a pop of color to the cabin, extending to the door panels for a cohesive, stylish, and hip 70s look. The carpets were thick, the sound deadening was better, and overall, compared to the 74 Road Runner, this new interior was a much more luxurious place to spend your time. At a base MSRP of just $3,973 according to Haggerty, the new Road Runner was priced competitively with other cars in its class and offered some really good performance numbers for its day. And allegedly, the plan was to continue on producing the B-body Road Runner into 1976. But a last-minute change of heart, which included poor sales numbers and shifting market demand, saw the Road Runner nameplate switch to the smaller F-body in 1976 instead. leaving the 1975 Road Runner sort of in a weird spot of its own. It is a real Road Runner, and it had a somewhat potent V8 available, but its vanilla looks and added luxury, while fitting for the time, made this Road Runner far different from its brash, performance-oriented brothers, which is why this one I don't think is looked upon as fondly. So let me know in the comments down below if you think the 75 Road Runner deserves more recognition, or would it be better for the sake of the Road Runner nameplate